Greetings, humans, and welcome to Lead Human. I'm Tim Spengler, along with my co-host, the prolific author and futurist, Mr. Jack Myers.
And sports fan.
True, very true. Together, we're part of the ACAST Creator Network, and each week, in about 30 minutes or so, we aim to prove that despite all of the talk about data, dashboards, and AI, that the real competitive advantage in business today is still less about managing the machine and more about unleashing the human potential. And this is Lead Human. Jack, this week, you and I are going to talk about one topic only. And what is that?
That topic is, needless to say, sports.
Sports.
You are the biggest sports fan I know.
Huh.
And one of the things that we've learned in the first couple dozen episodes of Lead Human, you and I have fans. They like our little banter up front. So we're going to give it a shot. And what better to be talking about than sports? Now, we're a couple of weeks away from the University of Arizona Wildcats being knocked out of the Final Four but not making it to the final championship game. Nonetheless, I've had a really good run, and I think a lot of topics that we're going to talk about today have to do with the emergence of college sports.
Right. And because of the word passion is a big part of it. And I think the power of sports today is at a new high. It's almost communal, I think, in a way that hasn't been before in this technology-driven, fragmented world. I could argue this is about the only times and places where we all show up together. And without, they say you're not supposed to talk about politics or religion, but I don't think religion is even as communal as it was. And so I think this is one of these
creating passion and polarization, even, New York, Boston, where you can still come together and have a conversation that's meaningful, purposeful, and where everyone walks away feeling good.
Live sports, it's live sports, it's on-demand binging, and it's creator scrolling. I mean, those are the three. And the live sports one is so powerful across, not just you and I, across all demographics. I mean, kids, hello, Savannah Bananas. Women, we talked about women's sports a couple episodes, and the rise of those leagues, and also more females following. So it is, I think it's really grown, don't you think?
I have some questions for you. And I think the fact that it's grown and how it's growing and how it's continuing to grow is a big issue that I really want to get into with you today in terms of the commercialization and capitalism in sports today. But you're really knowledgeable about sports announcers. And I'm a Syracuse University Newhouse graduate, even though I'm wearing the U of A hat. The greatest sports announcers, starting with Marty Glickman, Marv Albert, Ian Eagle, and of course, Mike Tirico today, right. All Newhouse graduates. Newhouse is known. So I pay a lot of attention to the announcers in sports.
Me too.
But I'm curious what you think of announcers today versus in the past. And are they analysts? Are they experts, or are they entertainers and performers more today than they used to be?
I don't think they're more of an entertainer than they used to be. They have a cult of personality because of who they are. Keith Jackson is Keith Jackson. Keith Jackson. I mean, Mike Tirico is Mike Tirico. I think they're authentic. And I mean, Ian Eagle tries to be a little funny, and he is. Marv was a little drier than that, but he still tried to be funny. I'm not sure that they're any different. What do you think?
Well, I question, it's just part of the kind of my bigger question about sports today. I'd like to get into name, image, likeness, nil with you, and the commercialization, Big 12 versus the Pac, the disappearance, the conferences that are geographically no longer aligned logically or sensibly, a a quarterback making $3 million when a professor is making $140,000. Where's the balance in terms of what is a university today? And I'll start us off, Tim, because I'm really eager to get your opinion on where sports are. You've got gambling is another
Right.
issue we can talk. There's so much we can talk about. That's the capitalism in sports, the
That's right.
globalization, pickleball,
Yep.
But the question that I really want to start on is what you think in terms of the NIL and where it's headed and what the reality is.
The toothpaste is certainly out of the tube with college sports and NIL. And I do struggle a little with the $3 million for the quarterback and them staying in. I think the product's never been better. I mean, they're staying in college to make the money. So it's interesting why, but the product's never been better. And rather than have too much of an opinion about it, because it just is, I just want to cite an interview that I heard with one of the greatest coaches in the history of America, which is Mike Krzyzewski. And they talked to him in the last few months. I forget, it was around March Madness. And there was an interview with Coach K about today's times.
Mm-hmm.
I was so impressed. It was an unbelievable learning moment for me because we talk about change all the time and having to, deal with change, manage change, et cetera, culturally and business, all of this. And Mike Krzyzewski, here's a guy, I think he's in his 70s. He just was talking about what is as it is. This is what it is. So this is what I have to do. I had to go meet the 15-year-olds before they became eligible. I had to, we tried to get them paid. He was so unbelievably current and evolved without an opinion. He wanted to win. He liked his kids. He was happy to see them get paid, right? And I was so impressed by no comment about, is it a good or bad state? He's in the state trying to win with what it was. And I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
what a great mindset. This is how it is. If it changes, I'll evolve with it. But I'm in it to win it. And it's good for the kids. And that was it. I was like, God, I can't argue with that.
I love that story. Here at the U of A, we had Tommy Lloyd, who just agreed to stay for another 5 years. And he's spoken about how different it is to be a coach today than when he was at Gonzaga.
Yeah.
But I'm also concerned, though, that it creates an imbalance in terms of the schools that aren't able to don't have the alumni funds. I ask maybe stupid questions like, where are the Ivy Leagues, because of the quality of their graduates financially, are they going to be able to compete more effectively? And how do schools like Gonzaga, like UConn, that have always done well, how are they going to be able to compete
Yeah.
against the Big Ten and the Big Pac, the Big 12, and even the ACC schools and schools like Duke?
Yeah. All right, let's shift away from college, bubble it up a little, talk about it in the overall sense of sports and business. It starts with culture and then it leads to business.
Okay.
All right. I'll tell you why I think that. I mean, let's look back to 20, 30 years ago. Sports wasn't as important because there were fewer channels, less fragmentation, no streamers, and there was, more must-see TV and everything was in pattern. All of entertainment was in pattern. So we had to show up. Now, everything is on demand and we can watch whatever we want pretty much when we want. And there's so many choices with all the streamers that sports becomes this galvanizing thing. That's power from a business standpoint. Sports is now in this country, I think, more like what sports has been in Europe and South America around football, or I mean
Okay.
soccer. That's
Okay.
religion. How about India, the world's most populous country, and cricket?
Cricket.
So we're not. This is an evolution of America culture in terms of the
Interesting.
power of sports, right? But it's always been there in these other countries. And what's happening is that this interest by the consumer, this demand, is now getting monetized more fully. And I'm not sure it's good for the consumer.
Well, let me go along that line and the globalization of sports. I grew up in Utica, New York. I used to describe where I live not as Utica, New York, but along the Yankee network
Mhm.
because we picked up the games
Yep.
from on radio. I listened to all the games on radio. Now let's take 60 seconds for a message from our stations along the Yankee network. So I identified, I think that localism is the culture in so
Mhm.
many ways. And when we have the globalization of sports, and I'll add the gambling and the fantasy leagues and things like that,
Mhm.
are we losing that culture? I think that's a really good question, Tim. I don't have an answer. Maybe you do.
I say no. We have more access to anything than ever before. I'm not a gambler, haven't spent a dollar gambling, but I don't know if we're losing culture. I think we're gaining access to players and social media. I think we're actually gaining access, which is part of feeding the frenzy. You're right, gambling's certainly part of it. Here's what I think is an interesting issue: how the demand is getting leveraged. And I
Hmm.
don't think it's great for the consumer. So advertisers are running to it. Advertisers are running to sports. Okay. It's less targetable, and advertising is, who, what, where, when mediums, less who, harder to buy the in market car buyer or the heavy fast food user, which you can buy all over regular traditional media and streaming media. Can't buy that in sports. Doesn't matter. Advertisers are running because of the lean in of the consumers, because of this passion, because it's this moment. Okay. So,
So how much do you think it's that? You're the media
yeah,
expert. And how much do you think it's just that it's one of the last places where you can reach people live, real time, linear?
yeah, all of that. But I think, and they're leaned in.
Yeah, they're
And
paying attention.
yeah. And so all of that is being monetized, and brands are lining up multi-year deals, broader partnerships. I mean, the money is coming. Now, let's talk about the money and what's happening, because the teams, the leagues, and the governing bodies are starting to leverage that further. And I think it's affecting the consumer. So the advertisers are loving it, and people are showing up, and brands are showing up, and sponsorships and all that. But here's some interesting I've been reading a lot about lately. And I'm starting to read more about it. I've actually experienced a little bit myself. So the World Cup coming to the United States this summer. The
Hmm.
tickets for the final game are over $10,000 a ticket, roughly 10x what it was 4 years ago in Qatar. Okay, that's the final game. Okay, the final game. Still, that's crazy. The games that are all over the US, it used to cost under $10 to take public transportation to the game. Now the transport out to the game, $200.
Whoa.
Ticket parking, hundreds of dollars if you want to park, and no tailgating. Ticket price is crazy. You can't get to the game. Oh, and Gianni Infante, who is the CEO of FIFA, he said there's 500 million requests for tickets. They're
Wow.
they're leveraging the demand. The Olympics, near and dear to my heart. LA 2028. That is 2+ years from now. I signed right up from the beginning to be able to buy tickets. I'm going. There was a lottery. They started with people from California. They were the first ones with access to this lottery. Fine. You can buy a max of 12 tickets, and half the stuff is not available yet for sale. I think they're holding out for surge pricing. I bought track and field for over $1,000 a ticket because, like this Carl Lewis picture behind me, I've got to be in the Coliseum 44 years later to watch the track and field. Ridiculous. It's like a vacation I spent for 2 tickets. And it's 2 years in advance. They have my money now, thousands of dollars, max of 12 tickets, 2+ years in advance.
I'll go with you on this. It's not just the sports you're talking about, but most of the major sports rights deals are up for
Well,
renegotiating in the
yes,
next couple of years,
right.
and we're seeing the potential of a baseball strike next year, or a lockout, not a
Yeah,
strike.
yeah.
We're seeing a lot. So, do you think when you look at the issues that you're describing so well, and you look at the upcoming rights
Yeah.
negotiations, where do the fans come into that? Are executives destroying the emotional infrastructure that you've described? And that's what makes sports so valuable in the first place.
Well, that's true. I mean, so with let me just come back to the tickets in the Olympics for a second. So because they're going to say there's so many tickets at $28 and the majority are under $200. I haven't seen any tickets for basketball, swimming, gymnastics, track under, for those prices. So I don't know who's going to be in the arena for these big moments, to your point. Let me talk about baseball for 1 second since you touched on it. The strike is coming because of a salary cap issue. Baseball is the only sport without a salary cap, right? Of the major sports. They want a salary cap, the owners. The players don't. And then the only way to change that may be a lockout. The granddaddy of them all, the anchor of it all, is the NFL, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly what's propping up still traditional media, the NFL. 86 of the top 100 rated shows last year were NFL games.
Exactly.
You and I are sitting there as owners. It doesn't matter that our franchise is worth 10 times more than it was. It's in the multi-billions. It's not worth enough. If we're propping up a league, I've got them. And so what's happening now is that the owners and the league can make more money by selling more of the rights to the streamers. The streamers can pay more than the traditional media companies.
Streamers also have international coverage. So now they're playing in London and in Mexico and other countries. We're seeing that spreading across the globe.
The economics of it, though, are they can pay because they can turn around and charge us an extra $10 a month. What's another $10 a month? Times 2 or 3 streamers. And the DOJ, the government, I think it's the DOJ, maybe the FCC. The government is now starting to look into this because the NFL is trying to fully leverage this demand in a way that may not be good to the consumer. So there's so much power, and everyone who has the power is trying to maximize the value. But it's interesting that I don't know if some of this is good for the consumer.
We could talk about the fact that rights are exchanging with cryptocurrency and other currencies being put in. That's a whole other conversation, and it's a gambling and a prediction market conversation. But I think the question you're asking and the comment you're making is that sports is no longer just a competition. It's a mirror. It's the clearest mirror we maybe have about how capitalism reorganizes culture. And I guess the real question for you, Tim, is not who wins, but whether the business model preserves the humanity, which is our topic. Are we losing the human aspect of sports? What makes it so great? What makes fans fans?
Yeah, I don't know, but it is interesting. With the power comes the leverage, and the leverage is going to be financially extracted. And so sports is a great thing. You and I love it, but what will come of it, given those with the leverage extracting it? Okay.
Since before you do that, since you brought up the NFL, and I just wanted to show our fans that I'm not just on the winning side, but that I do have a favorite NFL team as well. So I got a little Cleveland Browns fan.
All right. So you probably, because Jim Brown, because he went to Syracuse. Give us that.
Enough to say our home team where I'm old. I was when I was a little kid, it was before the Buffalo Bills. Our home team was the Cleveland Browns in Utica.
But you went to college at the same school as Jim Brown, the most famous. Of course,
Ernie Davis, Jim Brown. Yep.
Did you know Jim Brown?
Zonka, Floyd Little. Yep.
Did you know Jim Brown?
I saw Jim Brown play all 4 of his All-American sports. He was All-American in basketball. He was All-American in lacrosse, All-American in football, and he was track and field.
Right. What do you mean you saw him? You watched him play?
I saw him play in all 4 sports. Yeah.
So cool. All right, Jack, I want to get to a rapid fire end of this segment. All right. And it's 6 questions that we're going to go back and forth on.
Oh, boy.
Okay. They're going to be 1-word simple questions. If you answer the Yankees on all 6 questions, Desta, our producer, will cut your mic. Just warning you. Okay. Question
Okay,
one.
let's go. Let's go.
Question one. Best jersey in American sports.
Best jersey in American sports. I mean, I have to go with the Yankees cap. It's global. It's
Well,
not
it's
a
not a
jersey.
jersey,
It's a
but
cap.
okay. Well,
But
best
a
jersey.
jersey, I'd have to go with. It's an old timer. It's the Raiders, the old Oakland Raiders.
Okay. Okay. I'm going Chicago Blackhawks home red.
You know so much more about sports than I do. God
Well, it
bless
doesn't
you
matter.
for that one.
I mean, we got rid of the Indians in Cleveland. I don't think anyone's touching the Blackhawks. The home red Blackhawks. All right, number two. Best rivalry in all of American sports.
Yankees, Red Sox.
Okay. I push back in the playoffs. I give you that. In the regular season, I push back on that. They just played. I don't think it's as big a deal. I knew you were going to say that.
All right, I'd go with one other. I'll go with Celtics, Lakers.
Okay. I'm going right now Duke, North Carolina hoops.
Good.
Given the regular season and in the tournament. But all right. I think I know the answer to this one, and then you're going to go 3 for 3. Again, if you go 6 for 6, you're out. I'm out. Best, your favorite team.
Well, now you push me because, I have to go with the Yankees. I grew up. I just have to. How can I not go with the Yankees?
We're giving you that one. Okay, here's where it's going to get a little spicy. Best fan base.
Wait, who's your favorite team?
Sorry, I should have said that. Thank you for, I forgot to, I'm just so wanting to get the questions out. The New York Knickerbockers.
When I was growing up, the Syracuse Nationals were a natural antagonist to the Knicks. They became Philadelphia, but still a good rivalry.
Knicks are my team. Most passionate fan base nationally. That means they travel. They
Green Bay Packers.
Fine. I'll give you that. I go Pittsburgh Steelers, but they're both pretty up there. In city is one thing. In the Green Bay, if people who don't know, the Green Bay Packers are owned by the people who live in the town. The team can never be sold because it is owned by the inhabitants of this very small town called Green Bay, Wisconsin. So it is an incredible.
Thank God for giving me one that doesn't knock me out after 6.
No, you're in. You're in. Okay.
I'm in.
Your best sports moment ever, live or TV, whichever one grabs your head and your heart the most in your life.
Live sports moment ever.
Yep.
There's 2 that are both Yankees. I'm sorry. 1996 World Series win with my 2 sons. We'd been going to games regularly for a long time. And we were in tears when Charlie Hayes caught the pop-up at third base.
Another chance to the left side. Hayes waits. The Yankees are champions of baseball.
That was an amazing, but I'd say the number one greatest moment was Derek Jeter's last game when they were when they came back and Jeter was not even going to get up, and they came back and they were up by 3 runs. The other team, it was crazy, and he came up to win the game with his last hit.
Right. As a season ticket holder,
I'm pretty sure the pitcher threw him an easy pitch, and the ball was not thrown in that forcefully to home plate. But it was another one with my sons, and it was a great moment. I also got a worse moment in sports, but I'll ask you that one.
Oh, I don't have a worst. My best was literally what's behind me. Carl Lewis winning the 100 in the long jump in the Coliseum in 1984.
The greatest ever sprint jumper of all time. Oh, what a good jump. Absolutely spot on the board.
Been to a lot of Super Bowls, been to a lot of stuff, but that's my single best moment. You're 4 for 5. We've got one more, but you're still playing because one wasn't Yankee related. Oh boy. Best announcer. We're going to end it on this one. Your favorite announcer moment ever. Best call, I guess is what I'm saying.
Wow. You answer that first. Let me think about that.
So we all might say, do you believe in miracles? Yes. The Al Michaels 1980 Lake Placid greatest upset in the history of sports, U.S. beating Russia in hockey. That one's out there already. I could easily attach myself to that one. I'm going to bring up one other one, which I love, which is the band is on the field. Do you know that one?
No.
That's the Cal Stanford football game every year. At the end of the game was over except for the kickoff at the end of the game. Cal, I'm pretty sure it was Cal, not Stanford. The guy ran it back for a touchdown and ran into the trombone player in the end zone because the band was already marching on the field and the announcer screaming, "The band is on the field."
They're still in deep trouble at midfield. They tried to do a couple of... The ball is still loose as they get it to Rogers. They give it back now to the 30. They're down to the 20. Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. He's going into the end zone. Will it count? The Bears have scored.
I love that one. Cal Stanford, it's a famous game every year. And that is called, by the way, the play. Now, there's been trillions of plays in the history of sports. Trillions. I asked ChatGPT this because I wanted to know, how many plays have there been? Only one. Look it up. Only one is called the play. What do you got?
Well, you're thinking the play, and I was just thinking of Franco Harris, catching the immaculate reception. It's not one that I was at or was actually alive to listen to. I'd have to say it was Bobby Thompson hitting the home run.
Well, what was the announcer call, though? That's the question.
The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant.
Oh, right. Okay. When he said,
the Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant.
Right. Yeah, that's iconic as well. All right, that was fun. Thank you for begrudging me.
I
with
love
my
it. I was trying to come up with a great Yankee one, but I couldn't do it.
All right. Well, you did 4 for 6. I think the Steinbrenners would still be happy with that number. Do you want to? Maybe I'll close us out. What do you say?
First of all, let me say that this was a lot of fun, and I really am happy that we made this decision to do this. And let's try it again on another topic. Maybe our fans can weigh in on what they'd like us to talk about next time.
Great idea. Love that. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, please, go ahead and share our episode and, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube. And we spent less time today talking about unleashing the human spirit, but that's what Jack and I are here to create a movement around. And
I disagree. I think sports is released, where the human spirit is unleashed in every single game. And that's what sports is all about.
Amen. This has been Lead Human.